Standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid of Giza, you can't help but feel the weight of history pressing in around you. The way sunlight dances across its ancient stones, casting precise shadows that shift with the hours, raises a question. How did builders thousands of years ago achieve such mastery over light and shadow? These weren't just structures, they were carefully calculated works of art designed to interact with the sun, the stars, and even the seasons. From the solstice alignments that mark the passage of time to the symbolic interplay of darkness and illumination, ancient architects wielded light and shadow as tools to communicate, celebrate, and mystify. What secrets do these timeless designs hold? And what can their brilliance teach us about the ingenuity of the past? Together, let's uncover the mysteries behind the architectural magic of ancient builders and explore how their mastery of light and shadow continues to inspire awe today. Imagine walking into an ancient temple where shafts of sunlight pierce through narrow openings, casting intricate patterns on the floor. For the builders of these structures, light and shadow weren't just decorative elements, they were profound tools woven into the very fabric of their culture and spirituality. But why did ancient civilizations place such importance on these natural phenomena? To them, light often symbolized divine presence, a connection to the heavens, while shadow represented the mysteries of the unknown, the hidden forces that governed life and death. Take Stonehenge, for example. This iconic monument wasn't just a collection of massive stones, it was a carefully calibrated calendar aligned with the solstices. During the summer solstice, sunlight would stream directly through its arches, marking the longest day of the year, a moment of celebration and reverence. Similarly, in ancient Egypt, temples were designed to honor the gods through light. At Karnak, the sun god Amun-Ra was believed to be physically present in the beams of light that illuminated sacred spaces during specific times of the year. These alignments weren't accidental, they were deliberate acts of devotion and ingenuity, blending science with spirituality. But the use of light and shadow went beyond the spiritual. It also served practical purposes. In the labyrinthine chambers of Egyptian tombs, light was used to guide the deceased to the afterlife, while shadow concealed the secrets of the underworld. The interplay of these elements created a sense of awe and wonder, reinforcing the belief that these spaces were not just built by human hands but touched by the divine. What's truly remarkable is how these ancient architects understood the behavior of light long before modern science could explain it. They manipulated it to tell stories, mark time, and elevate their structures into something more than mere buildings. They became living, breathing symbols of their worldviews. So, the next time you see sunlight streaming through a window or casting shadows on a wall, take a moment to appreciate the timeless artistry of those who mastered this dance of light and darkness, transforming it into something sacred. The ancient builders didn't just rely on intuition or luck. Their mastery of light and shadow was rooted in a deep, almost scientific understanding of the natural world. They observed the sun's path across the sky, studied the stars, and even grasped the principles of geometry, all without the tools or textbooks we have today. Their structures weren't just built to last, they were designed to interact with light in ways that still leave us in awe. Take the Pantheon in Rome, for instance. Its iconic oculus, the circular opening at the top of the dome, isn't just an architectural marvel, it's a timekeeping device. As sunlight streams through the oculus, it creates a moving beam of light that travels across the interior, marking the hours with precision. On special days like the equinoxes, the light aligns perfectly with the entrance, a testament to the builder's understanding of celestial patterns. This wasn't just art, it was a fusion of geometry, astronomy, and material science, all working in harmony to create a living clock. But how did they achieve such precision? Ancient architects didn't have lasers or 3D software. Instead, they relied on careful observation and experimentation. They understood how different materials could reflect, absorb, or diffuse light. For example, the polished marble surfaces in many ancient temples weren't just for show. They helped amplify and direct sunlight, creating dramatic effects that enhanced the spiritual experience. Even the angles and proportions of their structures were calculated to maximize the interplay of light and shadow at specific times of the day or year. This level of sophistication wasn't unique to Rome. In ancient Egypt, the alignment of the Great Pyramid of Giza with the cardinal points north, south, east, and west wasn't just symbolic. It reflected a profound understanding of astronomy. The builders knew that by aligning the pyramid's sides with the stars, they could create a structure that seemed to rise out of the earth in perfect harmony with the cosmos. Similarly, the narrow shafts inside the pyramid weren't just ventilation systems. They were likely designed to align with specific stars, guiding the pharaoh's soul to the afterlife. What's even more fascinating is how these ancient techniques reveal a universal human trait: the desire to make sense of the world. By observing the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars, these builders created structures that weren't just functional but deeply meaningful. They turned stone and light into symbols of order, continuity, and connection to the divine. Today, we can marvel at their ingenuity, but we can also learn from it. Their ability to blend science and art reminds us that innovation doesn't always require modern technology. Sometimes it's about seeing the world with fresh eyes and using what's already around us in new and creative ways. The next time you step into a sunlit room or watch the shadows shift across a wall, take a moment to appreciate the ancient wisdom that turned these everyday phenomena into something extraordinary. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a testament to human ingenuity, a structure so meticulously designed that it continues to baffle and inspire even today. What makes this ancient marvel truly extraordinary isn't just its sheer size or the precision of its construction. It's the way it interacts with light and shadow, creating effects that feel almost magical. Every year during the equinoxes, the pyramid's alignment with the sun produces a stunning phenomenon. The sunlight hits the pyramid's northern and southern edges in such a way that it casts a perfect shadow on two of its sides, while the other two remain brilliantly illuminated. This creates a visual effect known as the solar alignment, where the pyramid appears to split into light and dark halves, a breathtaking display of ancient engineering meeting celestial precision. But the pyramid's relationship with light goes far beyond its exterior. Inside, the structure is a labyrinth of chambers and passages, each designed with a specific purpose in mind. The king's chamber, for instance, is located deep within the pyramid, yet it's not entirely shrouded in darkness. Small shafts, barely wide enough for a person to crawl through, extend from the chamber outward, aligning with specific stars in the night sky. These shafts aren't just ventilation systems, they're thought to be celestial pathways designed to guide the pharaoh's soul to the afterlife. During certain times of the year, light from stars like Sirius and Orion would have filtered through these shafts, illuminating the chamber in a way that felt both otherworldly and intentional. There's also the Grand Gallery, a towering corridor that leads to the king's chamber. Its steep incline and corbelled ceiling weren't just architectural feats, they may have played a role in manipulating light. Some researchers suggest that the gallery was designed to amplify and direct light from the entrance, creating a dramatic effect as it traveled upward. This interplay of light and shadow within the pyramid's interior would have added to the sense of mystery and reverence, reinforcing the idea that this wasn't just a tomb but a sacred space bridging the earthly and the divine. What's even more fascinating is that these light effects weren't random or accidental. The builders of the Great Pyramid had an intimate understanding of astronomy, geometry, and the behavior of light. They knew how to align the pyramid's base with the cardinal points north, south, east, and west with astonishing accuracy. This alignment wasn't just symbolic, it was a way of anchoring the pyramid to the cosmos, making it a physical representation of the ancient Egyptians' worldview. Theories about the pyramid's purpose continue to spark debate, but one thing is clear: its design was deeply intentional. Whether it was to honor the gods, serve as a celestial observatory, or guide the pharaoh's soul to the afterlife, the Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a masterpiece of light and shadow. It's a reminder that even thousands of years ago, humans were capable of creating structures that transcended mere functionality, transforming stone into a canvas for the sun and stars to paint upon. As we marvel at the pyramid's timeless brilliance, we're left with a profound appreciation for the ancient builders' ability to harness natural phenomena in ways that still resonate with us today. Their mastery of light and shadow wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about storytelling, spirituality, and a deep connection to the universe. And as we stand in the shadow of this ancient wonder, we can't help but feel a sense of awe at the ingenuity of those who came before us. In the heart of ancient Thebes, the Temple of Karnak stands as a monumental testament to the union of architecture, astronomy, and spirituality. This sprawling complex, dedicated to the sun god Amun-Ra, was more than just a place of worship. It was a stage where light itself became a divine actor. Every stone, every corridor, and every statue was carefully positioned to harness the sun's rays, transforming ordinary sunlight into a sacred force that breathed life into the temple's rituals. At the heart of Karnak lies the Great Hypostyle Hall, a forest of towering columns adorned with intricate hieroglyphs and carvings. But these columns weren't just decorative, they were strategically placed to filter sunlight in a way that created dramatic contrasts of light and shadow. During specific times of the day, sunlight would stream through the hall, illuminating certain statues or inscriptions while leaving others in shadow. This wasn't random, it was a deliberate act of design, meant to highlight sacred symbols and reinforce the temple's spiritual narrative. Imagine standing in that hall as the sun rose, watching as the light slowly revealed the face of Amun-Ra, as if the god himself were awakening. One of the most striking examples of this interplay is the temple's alignment with the solstices. On the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, sunlight would penetrate deep into the temple's innermost sanctuary, illuminating the statue of Amun-Ra. This moment was more than just a celestial coincidence. It was a divine event symbolizing the god's return and the renewal of life. For the ancient Egyptians, this alignment wasn't just a display of architectural brilliance, it was proof of the pharaoh's divine connection. By orchestrating these light rituals, the pharaoh was seen as a mediator between the gods and the people, a living embodiment of divine order. The temple's design also reveals a deep understanding of astronomy. The placement of obelisks, for instance, wasn't merely ornamental. These towering stone needles were positioned to cast long shadows that aligned with specific hieroglyphs or altars during key moments of the year. At dawn, the shadow of an obelisk might stretch across the courtyard, pointing directly to a sacred symbol or marking the start of a festival. These moments weren't just visually stunning, they were deeply meaningful, reinforcing the belief that the gods were actively present in the temple's daily life. What's truly remarkable is how these light rituals were woven into the fabric of Egyptian society. They weren't isolated events but part of a larger cosmic narrative that connected the temple to the cycles of the sun, the seasons, and even the afterlife. For the ancient Egyptians, light wasn't just a physical phenomenon, it was a manifestation of divine power, a force that could cleanse, heal, and renew. By designing the Temple of Karnak to interact with light in such precise ways, the builders created a space where the boundary between the earthly and the divine seemed to dissolve. Today, as we walk through the ruins of Karnak, we can still catch glimpses of this ancient magic. The way sunlight filters through the columns, the way shadows dance across the walls, it's a reminder of how deeply the ancient Egyptians understood the power of light. They didn't just build a temple, they crafted a living connection to the gods, a space where light and shadow became a language of the divine. And as we stand in the presence of this ancient wonder, we're reminded that the stories they told through stone and sunlight still resonate thousands of years later. As we step into the Pantheon in Rome, the first thing that captures our attention is the Oculus, a perfect circle of sky suspended high above. This single opening, nearly 30 feet in diameter, is the only source of natural light in the entire structure, and it transforms the Pantheon into a living, breathing space. Sunlight pours through the oculus, creating a luminous beam that moves across the floor and walls like a celestial clock. But this isn't just a practical feature, it's a masterpiece of design, blending engineering, artistry, and spirituality into one breathtaking element. The oculus doesn't just illuminate the Pantheon, it animates it. As the sun arcs across the sky, the beam of light shifts, marking the hours with a precision that rivals any modern timepiece. During the equinoxes, for example, the beam aligns perfectly with the entrance, flooding the doorway with light. On rainy days, the oculus becomes a portal for cascading water, creating a dramatic, almost theatrical effect as rain falls into the center of the room. Even at night, the oculus reveals the stars, turning the Pantheon into a cosmic observatory. This ever-changing dance of light and shadow makes every visit to the Pantheon a unique experience, a reminder that the building is as much a part of nature as it is a human creation. But the oculus isn't just a marvel of engineering, it's also deeply symbolic. For the ancient Romans, it represented the eye of the heavens, a direct connection between the earthly realm and the divine. The Pantheon itself was dedicated to all the gods, and the oculus served as a physical manifestation of that divine presence. The light streaming through it wasn't just sunlight, it was a symbol of divine favor, a reminder of the gods' watchful gaze. This interplay of light and shadow wasn't just decorative, it was a form of storytelling, a way to communicate the sacred relationship between humanity and the cosmos. The Pantheon's design also reflects the Romans' advanced understanding of geometry and proportion. The height of the dome is exactly equal to its diameter, creating a perfect sphere within the structure. This harmonious balance isn't just aesthetically pleasing. It amplifies the effects of the oculus, ensuring that light is distributed evenly throughout the space. The coffered ceiling, with its intricate patterns of recessed squares, further enhances this effect, diffusing the light and adding depth to the shadows. Every detail of the Pantheon's design was carefully considered, from the placement of the columns to the angle of the dome, all working together to create a space that feels both monumental and intimate. What makes the Pantheon truly remarkable, though, is how it continues to inspire awe centuries after its construction. Unlike many ancient structures, it has remained largely intact, a testament to the ingenuity of Roman engineering. The oculus, still open to the sky, serves as a bridge between the ancient and modern worlds, reminding us of the timeless human desire to connect with something greater than ourselves. Whether you're standing beneath it at noon when the light is at its brightest, or at dusk when shadows stretch across the floor, the Pantheon invites you to pause and reflect on the interplay of light, space, and time. In a world where we often take artificial light for granted, the Pantheon offers a powerful reminder of the beauty and meaning that natural light can bring. It's a testament to the Romans' ability to harness the elements not just for practical purposes, but to create something that stirs the soul. As we marvel at the oculus and the way it transforms the Pantheon, we're reminded that great architecture isn't just about function. It's about creating spaces that move us, that connect us to the world and to each other. And in that, the Pantheon remains as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. In the rolling green hills of Ireland's Boyne Valley, an ancient structure stands as a testament to humanity's enduring fascination with light and the cosmos. Newgrange, a massive Neolithic tomb older than both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid of Giza, is more than just a burial site. It's a carefully engineered marvel designed to capture the first light of the winter solstice. Picture this, a narrow, 60-foot-long passageway leading to a central chamber, perfectly aligned so that on the shortest day of the year, the rising sun pierces through the darkness, flooding the inner sanctum with golden light. This isn't just a random alignment, it's a deliberate feat of astronomical precision, one that has captivated scholars and visitors alike for centuries. What makes Newgrange truly extraordinary is the sheer ingenuity behind its design. The passageway, just wide enough for a single person to walk through, is precisely oriented to the southeast, directly toward the point where the winter solstice sun rises. Above the entrance, a small opening known as the roof box acts as a window, allowing the sun's rays to penetrate deep into the tomb. For a brief but breathtaking moment, the inner chamber, a space built to house the remains of the dead, is illuminated in a way that feels almost otherworldly. This phenomenon lasts only a few minutes, but its impact is profound, a reminder of the ancient builders' deep connection to the rhythms of the natural world. For the people who built Newgrange some 5,000 years ago, this alignment wasn't just an architectural achievement, it was deeply symbolic. The winter solstice marked the darkest day of the year, a time when the sun seemed to stand still before gradually returning, bringing with it the promise of renewal and rebirth. By designing a tomb that captured this moment of celestial transition, the builders were expressing a profound belief in the cyclical nature of life and death. Light in this context wasn't just a physical phenomenon, it was a spiritual force, a symbol of hope and continuity in the face of the unknown. The cultural significance of Newgrange extends beyond its astronomical alignment. The tomb's intricate carvings, featuring spirals, circles, and other geometric patterns, suggest a sophisticated understanding of both art and cosmology. These symbols, etched into the stones with remarkable precision, may have served as a visual language communicating ideas about the cosmos, the afterlife, and the interconnectedness of all things. For the ancient Irish, Newgrange wasn't just a tomb, it was a sacred space, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Today, Newgrange continues to inspire awe, not just for its beauty, but for the questions it raises about the people who built it. How did they achieve such precision without the tools or technology we have today? What drove them to invest so much time and effort into a structure designed to capture a single moment of light each year? These questions remind us that the ancient builders weren't just skilled engineers, they were storytellers, philosophers, and astronomers, using stone and sunlight to create a legacy that endures to this day. As we stand in the shadow of Newgrange, we're reminded of the timeless human desire to make sense of the world around us. The interplay of light and shadow, the alignment with the solstice, the intricate carvings, all of it speaks to a deep understanding of the cosmos and our place within it. Newgrange isn't just a monument to the past, it's a living testament to the ingenuity and spirituality of those who came before us, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, light has the power to transform and inspire. As we step into the shadowy depths of ancient temples and pyramids, it becomes clear that darkness was just as important as light in the minds of ancient builders. While light symbolized divinity, knowledge, and life, shadow represented the unknown, the mysterious, and the sacred. Shadows weren't just an absence of light, they were a deliberate tool used to evoke emotion, deepen spiritual experiences, and create a sense of awe. Take the Mayan pyramids of Central America, for example. These towering structures weren't just monuments to the gods, they were carefully designed to manipulate both light and shadow in profound ways. Inside the dark chambers of temples like El Castillo at Chichen Itza, the interplay of light and shadow created an atmosphere of mystery and reverence. Narrow slits in the walls allowed only slivers of light to penetrate, casting dramatic patterns that shifted with the movement of the sun. For the Maya, these shadows weren't random. They were part of a sacred narrative, a way to connect the physical world with the spiritual realm. The flickering light and deep shadows would have added to the sense of otherworldliness during rituals, making the space feel alive with the presence of the gods. In ancient Greece, shadows played a similar role, though in a slightly different context. Greek temples, with their grand columns and open courtyards, were designed to balance light and shadow in ways that enhanced their emotional impact. The Pantheon, for instance, used its colonnades to create a rhythmic interplay of light and dark, guiding visitors through a carefully choreographed experience. As you walked through the temple, the shifting shadows would have heightened your sense of anticipation, drawing you deeper into the sacred space. The dimly lit inner sanctum where the statue of Athena stood would have been shrouded in shadow, creating a stark contrast with the bright exterior. This wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about creating a sense of awe and reverence, reminding visitors of the divine power that lay within. Even in ancient Egypt, shadows were used to convey meaning. The dark, narrow passages of tombs like those in the Valley of the Kings weren't just practical features, they were symbolic pathways into the afterlife. The journey through these shadowy corridors was meant to evoke the uncertainty and fear of death, while the eventual emergence into a brightly lit chamber symbolized rebirth and eternal life. Shadows in this context were a metaphor for the transition between worlds, a way to help the deceased navigate the journey to the afterlife. What's fascinating is how these ancient cultures used shadows not just to obscure but to reveal. Shadows could highlight certain elements, draw attention to sacred symbols, or create a sense of movement and life within a static structure. They were a way to tell stories, to evoke emotions, and to deepen the spiritual experience of those who entered these spaces. This duality of light and shadow, so deeply embedded in ancient architecture, reminds us that darkness isn't just the absence of light, it's a presence in its own right. It's a tool, a symbol, and a way to connect with the mysteries of the universe. As we explore these ancient spaces, we're reminded that the interplay of light and shadow isn't just about what we see, it's about what we feel. And in that, the ancient builders achieved something truly extraordinary. They turned stone into emotion and shadows into stories that still resonate with us today. The alignment of ancient structures with celestial events is one of the most fascinating examples of how our ancestors intertwined their understanding of the cosmos with their architectural achievements. These builders didn't just construct monuments, they created timekeepers, observatories, and celestial maps in stone. By aligning their structures with solstices, equinoxes, and lunar cycles, they demonstrated a profound connection to the rhythms of the universe, a connection that continues to leave us in awe today. Consider Chichen Itza's El Castillo, the iconic Mayan pyramid in Mexico. This isn't just a towering structure of stone, it's a celestial calendar carved into the landscape. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, the setting sun casts a series of triangular shadows along the pyramid's northern staircase. These shadows create the illusion of a serpent slithering down the steps, a visual representation of Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god. This phenomenon isn't a coincidence, it's the result of meticulous planning and a deep understanding of the sun's movements. The precision required to achieve this effect is staggering, especially considering the builders had no modern tools or technology. They relied on careful observation, geometry, and a mastery of their environment to create a spectacle that still draws thousands of visitors each year. But El Castillo is just one example. Across the globe, ancient cultures demonstrated similar ingenuity. In England, Stonehenge's massive stones are aligned with the summer solstice sunrise, marking the longest day of the year. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza's sides are aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west, reflecting an advanced understanding of astronomy. Even in ancient China, the Temple of Heaven in Beijing was designed to align with the winter solstice, a time of great spiritual significance. These alignments weren't just symbolic, they were practical, serving as calendars, markers of agricultural cycles, and tools for predicting celestial events. So how did ancient builders achieve such precision without telescopes or GPS? The answer lies in their deep observational skills and innovative methods. They likely used simple tools like Nauman's vertical sticks that cast shadows to track the sun's movement. By observing the length and direction of shadows throughout the year, they could determine solstices and equinoxes. They also used natural landmarks and the positions of stars to guide their alignments. For example, the ancient Egyptians may have used the circumpolar stars to determine true north, while the Maya observed the Pleiades star cluster to mark the agricultural calendar. What's even more remarkable is how these alignments were woven into the cultural and spiritual fabric of these societies. For the Maya, the descent of the serpent at El Castillo wasn't just a visual trick. It was a moment of divine presence, a reminder of the god's power and the cyclical nature of time. For the builders of Stonehenge, the solstice alignments were tied to rituals celebrating the renewal of life and the changing seasons. These structures weren't just built to last, they were built to communicate, to tell stories about humanity's place in the cosmos. As we explore these ancient marvels, we're reminded of the universal human desire to understand and connect with the world around us. The alignment of these structures with celestial events reveals a shared language of observation, ingenuity, and reverence for the natural world. It's a testament to the creativity and resourcefulness of ancient builders who turned stone and shadow into tools for exploring the mysteries of the universe. And as we stand beneath these towering monuments, we can't help but feel a sense of wonder at the timeless brilliance of those who came before us. The next time you gaze at the sun or marvel at the night sky, think about the ancient builders who looked at the same celestial patterns and saw not just light and stars, but stories, calendars, and divine messages. Their legacy is a reminder that the universe has always been a source of inspiration, guiding us to create, explore, and connect in ways that transcend time and culture. One of the most ingenious ways ancient builders manipulated light was through the use of reflective surfaces. By harnessing the natural properties of materials like polished stone, metal, and even water, they created environments where light didn't just illuminate, it danced, multiplied, and transformed spaces into mesmerizing experiences. These techniques weren't just about beauty, they were about amplifying the emotional and spiritual impact of architecture, turning ordinary structures into extraordinary works of art. Take the Persian gardens, for instance. These lush, meticulously designed spaces were more than just places of tranquility. They were masterpieces of light and reflection. Central to many Persian gardens were reflective pools, calm bodies of water that mirrored the sky, the surrounding architecture, and the gardens themselves. These pools didn't just add aesthetic appeal, they created a sense of infinite space, blurring the line between the physical and the ethereal. As sunlight rippled across the water's surface, it cast shimmering patterns on nearby walls and pathways, creating a dynamic interplay of light and shadow that changed with the time of day. For visitors, these reflections weren't just visually stunning, they were symbolic, representing the harmony between earth and heaven, a core tenet of Persian philosophy. The use of reflective surfaces wasn't limited to water. In Byzantine churches, builders employed polished metal and glass mosaics to create interiors that seemed to glow with divine light. The Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, for example, is renowned for its golden mosaics and reflective surfaces that catch and scatter light in every direction. The dome's interior, adorned with thousands of tiny glass tiles, acts like a kaleidoscope, refracting sunlight into a spectrum of colors that bathes the space in an otherworldly glow. This effect wasn't accidental, it was a deliberate attempt to evoke the heavenly realms, making worshippers feel as though they had stepped into a sacred, illuminated world. Even in ancient Egypt, reflective surfaces played a role in architectural design. The walls of temples and tombs were often coated in polished limestone or covered in glazed tiles, creating surfaces that could reflect and amplify sunlight. In the Temple of Karnak, for instance, the reflective surfaces of obelisks and statues would have caught the sun's rays, creating dazzling highlights that drew attention to sacred symbols and inscriptions. These reflections weren't just decorative, they were part of a larger narrative, emphasizing the divine presence believed to inhabit these spaces. But why did ancient builders go to such lengths to incorporate reflective surfaces into their designs? The answer lies in the power of light to shape our emotions and perceptions. By using reflective materials, they could intensify the effects of natural light, creating environments that felt alive, dynamic, and deeply symbolic. These surfaces didn't just reflect light, they reflected meaning, turning architecture into a language of light and shadow. Today, as we marvel at these ancient designs, we're reminded of the timeless power of reflection. Whether it's the shimmering pools of a Persian garden, the golden glow of a Byzantine church, or the polished walls of an Egyptian temple, these reflective surfaces continue to captivate us. They are a testament to the creativity and ingenuity of ancient builders who understood that light isn't just something we see, it's something we feel. And in their hands, even the simplest reflection could become a doorway to the divine. Light wasn't just a tool for ancient builders, it was a sacred medium, a way to bring the divine into the human realm. In many ancient cultures, light played a central role in rituals and ceremonies, transforming ordinary spaces into arenas of spiritual power. The way light was used, whether through torches, fires, or the natural rays of the sun, wasn't just practical. It was deeply symbolic, shaping the design of temples, tombs, and sacred spaces in profound ways. Take ancient Greece, for example. In the dimly lit sanctuaries of temples like the Pantheon, the flickering light of oil lamps and torches would have created an atmosphere of mystery and reverence. These flames weren't just there to illuminate the space, they were offerings to the gods, a way to bridge the gap between the earthly and the divine. The design of these temples often included large, open courtyards where fire rituals could take place, with columns and walls positioned to amplify the light's effects. As worshippers moved through these spaces, the interplay of light and shadow would have heightened their sense of awe, drawing them deeper into the spiritual experience. In Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest religions, fire held a particularly sacred role. Fire temples, known as Atash Bayrams, were designed to house eternal flames, symbolizing the presence of Ahura Mazda, the supreme deity. These flames weren't just symbols, they were considered living embodiments of divine energy. The layout of a Zoroastrian fire temple was carefully planned to protect and honor the flame, with chambers and passageways designed to control airflow and ensure the fire burned steadily. The light from these flames would have illuminated the temple's interior, casting long shadows that added to the sense of sanctity and mystery. For Zoroastrians, fire wasn't just a source of light, it was a purifying force, a way to connect with the divine and maintain cosmic order. Even in cultures where fire wasn't the primary focus, light played a crucial role in rituals. In ancient Egypt, for instance, the lighting of sacred lamps was a key part of temple ceremonies. These lamps, often filled with precious oils, were placed in front of statues of the gods to symbolize their presence. The flickering light would have created a dynamic, almost lifelike effect, making the statues appear to come alive. This use of light wasn't just about visibility. It was about creating an emotional connection between the worshipper and the divine. The design of Egyptian temples often included narrow windows or shafts to control the flow of light, ensuring that it illuminated specific areas at specific times, further enhancing the ritual experience. What's fascinating is how these practices influenced the architecture of religious structures. Temples and shrines weren't just built to house rituals, they were designed to enhance them. The placement of windows, the orientation of courtyards, and the use of reflective surfaces were all carefully considered to maximize the impact of light. In Greek temples, for example, the open design allowed sunlight to pour in during the day, while torches and lamps provided illumination at night. This dual approach ensured that the space felt sacred at all times, whether under the sun's rays or the glow of fire. These ancient practices remind us that light wasn't just a physical phenomenon, it was a language, a way to communicate with the divine and evoke powerful emotions. The way light was used in rituals shaped the very fabric of religious architecture, creating spaces that weren't just functional but deeply meaningful. And as we explore these ancient sites today, we can still feel the echoes of those sacred moments, a testament to the enduring power of light to inspire, connect, and transform. By understanding how light was woven into the rituals of the past, we gain a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity and spirituality of ancient builders. They didn't just construct buildings, they crafted experiences, using light as a bridge between the human and the divine. And in doing so, they left behind a legacy that continues to illuminate our understanding of the ancient world. When you step into the dimly lit chambers of the Great Pyramid of Giza or the soaring nave of a Gothic cathedral, one question inevitably arises: how did ancient builders manage to bring light into these deep, enclosed spaces without the benefit of electricity or modern tools? The answer lies in their extraordinary ingenuity and a deep understanding of how light behaves. Ancient engineers didn't just build structures, they crafted intricate systems to channel light, transforming dark interiors into spaces that felt alive with illumination. Take the Great Pyramid's mysterious light shafts, for example. These narrow passageways, barely wide enough for a person to crawl through, extend from the king's chamber deep within the pyramid to the outer walls. For years, their purpose puzzled researchers, but one theory suggests they were designed to channel starlight into the chamber, creating a celestial connection that guided the pharaoh's soul to the afterlife. During certain times of the year, stars like Sirius and Orion would have aligned perfectly with these shafts, allowing their light to penetrate the pyramid's interior. This wasn't just a feat of engineering, it was a profound expression of the ancient Egyptians' belief in the cosmic journey of the soul. But the Great Pyramid isn't the only example of ancient light channeling brilliance. In medieval Europe, Gothic cathedrals like Chartres and Notre Dame took the art of illumination to new heights. Their towering stained glass windows weren't just decorative, they were masterpieces of engineering designed to flood the interior with colored light. These windows transformed sunlight into a kaleidoscope of hues, creating an ethereal atmosphere that felt almost otherworldly. The builders achieved this by using slender stone supports called tracery, which allowed for larger glass surfaces without compromising the structure's stability. The result was a breathtaking interplay of light and color that turned these cathedrals into spiritual sanctuaries, where every beam of light told a biblical story. What's even more astonishing is how these builders solved the challenge of directing light into spaces that would otherwise be shrouded in darkness. In ancient Rome, for instance, the use of atriums and courtyards in homes and public buildings allowed natural light to penetrate deep into the interior. By positioning these open spaces strategically, Roman architects ensured that even the innermost rooms received ample sunlight, Similarly, in Byzantine churches, small, high windows known as clerestories were used to bring light into the central nave, creating a heavenly glow that seemed to emanate from above. The key to these innovations was a combination of careful observation and experimentation. Ancient builders studied the behavior of light, learning how it could be reflected, diffused, and channeled to achieve specific effects. In the case of the Great Pyramid, the precise alignment of the light shafts required a deep understanding of astronomy and geometry. For Gothic cathedrals, the intricate design of stained glass windows demanded both artistic skill and structural ingenuity. These builders didn't just work with stone and glass, they worked with light itself, turning it into a building material as vital as any other. What's truly remarkable is how these ancient techniques continue to inspire modern architecture. Today, architects use skylights, reflective surfaces, and advanced materials to bring natural light into buildings, but the principles remain the same. Light is more than just illumination. It's a way to shape space, evoke emotion, and tell a story. The ancient builders understood this intuitively, creating structures that weren't just functional but deeply meaningful. As we marvel at these engineering marvels, we're reminded of the timeless human desire to harness the power of light. Whether it's the celestial shafts of the Great Pyramid or the radiant windows of a Gothic cathedral, these ancient solutions are a testament to the creativity and resourcefulness of those who came before us. They didn't just build structures, they crafted experiences, using light to connect the earthly with the divine, the practical with the profound. And in doing so, they left behind a legacy that continues to illuminate our world. Across the globe, ancient civilizations shared a universal fascination with light, but the way they interpreted and harnessed it varied dramatically based on their cultural beliefs and values. For some, light was a symbol of life, power, and divinity, while for others it represented cycles, mystery, and the unseen. These differing interpretations shaped not just their spiritual practices, but also the very structures they built, leaving behind a legacy of architectural marvels that continue to captivate us today. In sun-worshipping cultures like ancient Egypt and Mesoamerica, light was synonymous with divinity and vitality. The Egyptians revered the sun god Ra, who was believed to travel across the sky each day, bringing light and life to the world. This belief was reflected in their architecture, where temples like Karnak were designed to capture and amplify sunlight, creating spaces that felt alive with divine energy. The alignment of these structures with solstices and equinoxes wasn't just practical, it was spiritual, a way to honor Ra and celebrate the cycles of renewal he represented. Similarly, in Mesoamerica, the Maya built pyramids like El Castillo at Chichen Itza to align with the sun during equinoxes, creating dramatic light effects that symbolized the presence of their gods. For these cultures, light wasn't just a physical phenomenon, it was a sacred force, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. In contrast, the Inca of South America held a unique reverence for the moon, which they called Mama Killa. While the sun was important, the moon represented a different kind of power, one tied to fertility, cycles, and the unseen forces of the night. Inca architecture often incorporated lunar symbolism, with structures like the Coricancha in Cusco featuring carefully placed windows and openings to capture moonlight. These designs created an ethereal atmosphere during nighttime rituals, emphasizing the moon's role as a protector and guide. Unlike the sun-drenched temples of Egypt, Inca spaces were often more introspective, using light in subtle, reflective ways to evoke a sense of mystery and connection to the cosmos. The cultural significance of light extended beyond individual structures. It shaped entire cities. In Egypt, the layout of cities like Amarna was designed to align with the path of the sun, reinforcing the idea of divine order. In Mesoamerica, urban centers like Teotihuacan were laid out to reflect celestial patterns, with pyramids and plazas positioned to mirror the movements of the sun and stars. These cityscapes weren't just functional, they were living embodiments of cultural beliefs where every street, building, and monument played a part in a larger cosmic narrative. What's striking is how these cultural interpretations of light influenced not just the design of buildings, but also the experiences of those who used them. In sun-worshipping cultures, the interplay of light and shadow was often dramatic and celebratory, creating spaces that felt alive with energy. In moon-focused traditions, the use of light was more subdued and introspective, evoking a sense of quiet reverence. These differences reveal how deeply architecture is tied to the values and beliefs of a society, shaping not just the physical world but also the emotional and spiritual lives of its people. As we explore these ancient cultures, we're reminded that light is more than just a tool, it's a language, a way to communicate ideas about the universe and our place within it. Whether it's the blazing sunlight of an Egyptian temple or the soft glow of moonlight in an Inca shrine, these architectural masterpieces tell us something profound about the people who built them. They remind us that light, in all its forms, has the power to inspire, connect, and transform, leaving behind a legacy that continues to shine across the centuries. By examining these cross-cultural perspectives, we gain a deeper understanding of how ancient builders used light to express their beliefs and shape their world. It's a testament to the creativity and ingenuity of these civilizations, who turned something as simple as sunlight or moonlight into a profound statement about the nature of existence. And as we stand in the presence of these ancient wonders, we can't help but feel a sense of awe at the timeless brilliance of those who came before us. The ancient world was a place where time itself seemed to move to the rhythm of the sun. Long before the invention of clocks, ancient builders turned to the sky to measure the passage of hours, days, and seasons. One of their most ingenious creations was the sundial, a simple yet profound device that transformed sunlight into a tool for timekeeping. But sundials were more than just practical instruments. They were reflections of a deep understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and the natural world. The earliest sundials date back to ancient Egypt, where obelisks served as both monuments and timekeeping tools. These towering stone structures cast long shadows that moved across the ground as the sun traveled across the sky. By observing the length and direction of these shadows, the Egyptians could divide the day into segments, marking the hours with surprising accuracy. This wasn't just a matter of convenience, it was a way to align daily life with the rhythms of the cosmos. The obelisk's shadow became a living clock, connecting timekeeping to the divine, as the sun god Ra was believed to oversee the passage of time itself. As civilizations advanced, so did the complexity of their sundials. The Greeks and Romans refined the design, creating portable sundials that could be carried or placed in gardens and public spaces. These devices often featured intricate markings, dividing the day into hours and even smaller increments. The precision of these sundials reveals a sophisticated grasp of geometry and astronomy, as builders had to account for the sun's changing position throughout the year. A sundial placed in Rome, for example, would have different markings than one in Alexandria, reflecting the variations in latitude and the angle of sunlight. But sundials weren't the only way ancient societies measured time. In China, the gnomon, a vertical stick or pillar, was used to track the sun's movement and mark the solstices and equinoxes. These observations were crucial for agricultural planning, as they helped farmers determine the best times for planting and harvesting. Similarly, in Mesoamerica, the Maya used a combination of stone markers and astronomical observations to create calendars that were astonishingly accurate. Their understanding of celestial cycles allowed them to predict eclipses, track the movements of Venus, and create a calendar system that remains a marvel of precision. What's fascinating is how these timekeeping tools reveal the interconnectedness of science, spirituality, and daily life in ancient societies. Sundials and obelisks weren't just practical devices. They were symbols of humanity's desire to understand and control time. They reflected a belief that the universe was orderly and predictable, governed by celestial patterns that could be observed and measured. For the ancients, time wasn't just a concept, it was a tangible force shaped by the sun's journey across the sky. As we explore these ancient timekeeping methods, we're reminded of the creativity and resourcefulness of those who came before us. Without modern technology, they found ways to harness the power of light, turning it into a tool for organizing their lives and connecting with the cosmos. Their innovations laid the groundwork for the clocks and calendars we use today, proving that even the simplest ideas can have a lasting impact. The next time you glance at a clock or check your phone for the time, take a moment to think about the ancient builders who first turned sunlight into a measure of time. Their legacy is a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is timeless, and that even the most basic tools can reveal profound truths about the world around us. The artistic brilliance of ancient builders extended far beyond the practical and spiritual. It reached into the realm of pure aesthetic beauty. Light and shadow weren't just tools for timekeeping or symbols of the divine. They were the paint and canvas of ancient architects, used to create breathtaking visual effects that transformed stone into living art. One of the earliest examples of this artistic mastery can be found in the temples of ancient Greece. Here, builders used the interplay of light and shadow to highlight the intricate carvings and friezes that adorned their structures. As sunlight streamed through the columns of the Pantheon, it created a dynamic effect known as chiaroscuro, a dramatic contrast between light and dark that brought the stone figures to life. The shifting shadows would have animated the scenes of gods and heroes, making the carvings appear almost fluid, as if the stories they told were unfolding in real time. This wasn't just decoration, it was storytelling in stone where light and shadow became the narrators. In ancient Egypt, the artistry of light took on a different but equally stunning form. The walls of tombs and temples were covered in vibrant murals and hieroglyphs, but it was the way light interacted with these surfaces that made them truly remarkable. Polished limestone and glazed tiles reflected sunlight, creating a shimmering effect that enhanced the colors and details of the artwork. In the tomb of Nefertari, for instance, the delicate brushstrokes of the murals were illuminated by carefully placed openings that allowed light to filter in at specific angles. The result was a space that felt alive, where the play of light and shadow added depth and movement to the static images. The Mayan civilization also embraced the artistic potential of light and shadow, using it to create dramatic effects in their temples and palaces. At Uxmal, the intricate latticework of the governor's palace catches the sunlight in a way that casts intricate patterns on the surrounding walls. These patterns shift throughout the day, creating a constantly changing tapestry of light and shadow. It's as if the building itself is a living artwork responding to the rhythms of the sun. For the Maya, these effects weren't just beautiful, they were a way to connect their architecture to the natural world, making their structures feel like extensions of the landscape. Even in the dimly lit interiors of Gothic cathedrals, light played a central role in enhancing artistic beauty. The stained glass windows of Notre Dame and Chartres transformed sunlight into a kaleidoscope of colors, casting vibrant hues onto the stone floors and walls. These windows weren't just sources of light, they were masterpieces of glass and lead, depicting biblical scenes and saints in stunning detail. As the light passed through the glass, it created a sense of movement and life, turning the cathedral's interior into a living canvas. What unites these examples is the ancient builders' ability to see light and shadow not just as physical phenomena, but as artistic tools. They understood that these elements could elevate their structures from mere buildings to works of art, creating spaces that were not only functional but also deeply beautiful. Whether it was the dramatic contrasts of Greek temples, the shimmering murals of Egyptian tombs, or the ever-changing patterns of Mayan palaces, these techniques reveal a profound appreciation for the aesthetic possibilities of light. As we marvel at these ancient creations, we're reminded that beauty is more than skin deep. It's woven into the very fabric of these structures, shaped by the way light dances across their surfaces and brings their artistry to life. The next time you stand in a sunlit room or watch shadows stretch across a wall, take a moment to appreciate the timeless creativity of those who first turned light and shadow into art. Their legacy is a reminder that even the simplest elements can be transformed into something extraordinary, leaving us in awe of their vision and skill. The legacy of ancient light and shadow techniques is a thread that runs through the tapestry of architectural history, connecting the ingenuity of the past with the innovations of the present. Long after the last stone was laid in the Great Pyramid or the final mosaic installed in Hagia Sophia, the principles these ancient builders developed continued to shape the way we think about light, space, and design. From the soaring cathedrals of the Middle Ages to the sleek glass skyscrapers of today, the influence of these early techniques is undeniable and deeply inspiring. During the Renaissance, architects looked to the ancient world for inspiration, reviving and reimagining the interplay of light and shadow in their designs. Take Brunelleschi's dome in Florence, for example. This architectural marvel wasn't just a feat of engineering, it was a celebration of light. The oculus at its apex allowed sunlight to pour into the cathedral, creating a dramatic interplay of illumination and shadow that echoed the Pantheon's design centuries earlier. Renaissance architects understood that light could elevate a space from functional to transcendent, and they embraced this idea with a passion that transformed cities across Europe. Gothic architecture took this concept even further, using light as a spiritual medium. The towering stained glass windows of cathedrals like Chartres and Notre Dame transformed sunlight into a kaleidoscope of color, bathing the interiors in an ethereal glow. These windows weren't just decorative, they were storytelling devices, using light to depict biblical scenes and evoke a sense of divine presence. The pointed arches and ribbed vaults of Gothic cathedrals were designed to draw the eye upward toward the light, creating a sense of awe and reverence that mirrored the spiritual journey of the faithful. Fast forward to the modern era, and the influence of ancient light-focused design is still evident. Architects like Le Corbusier and Louis Kahn drew inspiration from these timeless principles, using light to shape space and evoke emotion. Kahn's Salk Institute in California, for instance, features a central courtyard that captures the changing light of the day, creating a dynamic interplay of shadow and illumination that feels almost sacred. Similarly, contemporary architects like Tadao Ando use light as a central element in their designs, crafting spaces that feel both modern and deeply connected to the past. What's fascinating is how these ancient techniques continue to evolve. Modern technology allows architects to manipulate light in ways the ancients could only dream of, yet the core principles remain the same. Whether it's a Gothic cathedral or a glass-walled skyscraper, the goal is to create spaces that inspire, uplift, and connect us to something greater. Today's architects often speak of harnessing light, but in many ways they're following in the footsteps of those ancient builders who first understood its power to transform stone into something profound. This connection between past and present isn't just about aesthetics, it's about the enduring human desire to create meaning through design. The way light interacts with a space can evoke emotions, tell stories, and even shape how we experience time. It's a reminder that architecture isn't just about building structures, it's about crafting experiences that resonate on a deeply human level. As we look to the future, the lessons of the past remain as relevant as ever. The ancient builders may not have had the tools or materials we have today, but their understanding of light and shadow was nothing short of revolutionary. They showed us that light isn't just something we see, it's something we feel, something that can connect us to the world and to each other. And in that, their legacy continues to shine brightly, illuminating the path for generations of architects to come. So, the next time you step into a sunlit room or marvel at the glow of a stained glass window, take a moment to appreciate the ancient wisdom that made it possible. These techniques didn't just shape the buildings of the past, they shaped the way we see the world, reminding us that even in the most modern designs, the light of the ancients still shines. The way ancient cities were laid out tells us more than just how people lived. It reveals how they thought about light and shadow as integral parts of daily life. Urban planning in the ancient world wasn't just about functionality. It was about creating spaces that harmonized with the natural environment, using light to shape everything from public plazas to private homes. By examining the layouts of cities like Rome and Mayan centers, we can see how ancient builders turned sunlight into a tool for building thriving, livable communities. Take the Roman grid system, for example. Roman cities were famously organized into a grid of straight streets intersecting at right angles. This wasn't just for ease of navigation, it was a deliberate effort to optimize sunlight. The streets were often aligned with the cardinal directions, ensuring that buildings received ample light throughout the day. Public spaces like forums and baths were strategically placed to catch the sun, creating warm, inviting areas for social interaction. Even private homes or domus were designed with light in mind. Courtyards, known as atriums, were central to Roman houses, allowing sunlight to filter into the interior rooms. These open spaces weren't just practical, they were a way to bring the outside in, creating a sense of connection to the natural world. But the Romans weren't the only ones who thought carefully about light in urban design. In Mesoamerica, the Maya built their cities with a deep understanding of the sun's path across the sky. Plazas, the heart of Mayan cities, were often oriented to align with the solstices and equinoxes. During these key moments of the year, sunlight would flood the plazas, illuminating temples and statues in dramatic ways. This wasn't just about aesthetics, it was a way to mark time and celebrate the cycles of nature. The orientation of these spaces also created comfortable, shaded areas where people could gather during the hottest parts of the day. By balancing light and shadow, the Maya created urban environments that were both functional and deeply symbolic. What's fascinating is how these ancient urban designs reveal a universal truth. Light shapes how we experience space. In Roman cities, the grid system ensured that sunlight reached every corner, fostering a sense of openness and order. In Mayan plazas, the interplay of light and shadow created dynamic, ever-changing environments that reflected the rhythms of the cosmos. Both approaches show a profound understanding of how light can influence mood, behavior, and even community life. This attention to light wasn't just about comfort, it was about creating harmony between the built environment and the natural world. Ancient builders understood that cities weren't just collections of buildings, they were living, breathing spaces that needed to work with the elements, not against them. By designing cities that optimized sunlight and embraced shadow, they created environments that were not only practical but also deeply connected to the rhythms of life. As we explore these ancient urban designs, we're reminded of the timeless importance of thoughtful planning. The way light was used in these cities wasn't just a technical achievement, it was a reflection of cultural values and a deep respect for the natural world. Whether it's the sunlit courtyards of a Roman domus or the celestial alignments of a Mayan plaza, these ancient cities show us that the best designs are those that balance function with beauty, practicality with meaning. Today, as we grapple with the challenges of modern urban planning, we can still learn from these ancient approaches. By thinking about light and shadow as integral parts of design, we can create spaces that are not only efficient but also uplifting and inspiring. The legacy of these ancient builders reminds us that even in the most practical aspects of life, there's room for creativity, connection, and a touch of magic. For ancient civilizations, death wasn't an end, it was a journey, a passage to another realm. And in this journey, light played a crucial role, serving as both a guide and a symbol of hope. Across cultures, from the pyramids of Egypt to the tombs of ancient China, light was woven into burial practices in profound ways, reflecting a deep belief in its power to connect the living with the afterlife. These practices weren't just about honoring the dead, they were about ensuring their safe passage into the unknown, using light as a bridge between worlds. In ancient Egypt, the design of tombs and pyramids reveals a meticulous attention to light. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, features narrow shafts that extend from the king's chamber to the outer walls. For years, these shafts puzzled researchers, but many now believe they were designed to align with specific stars, allowing celestial light to penetrate the pyramid's interior. During certain times of the year, stars like Sirius and Orion would have aligned with these shafts, their light illuminating the chamber in a way that felt both otherworldly and intentional. For the Egyptians, this wasn't just a technical feat, it was a spiritual act. The light from these stars was believed to guide the pharaoh's soul to the afterlife, ensuring their place among the gods. It's a powerful reminder of how light was seen as a divine force, capable of transcending the boundaries of life and death. But the symbolism of light in burial practices wasn't unique to Egypt. In ancient China, tombs were often equipped with lanterns or lamps, placed to illuminate the path for the deceased. These lights weren't just practical, they were deeply symbolic, representing the eternal flame of life and the hope for an afterlife free from darkness. The Han Dynasty, for example, is known for its elaborate burial sites, where lanterns were placed alongside other offerings like pottery and jade. These lights were believed to provide comfort and guidance, helping the soul navigate the journey to the next world. The act of lighting these lamps was also seen as a way to honor the dead, a gesture of respect and love that transcended time and space. What's striking about these practices is how they reveal a shared belief in the transformative power of light. Whether it was the celestial shafts of the pyramids or the flickering lanterns of Chinese tombs, light was seen as a force that could pierce the veil between life and death, offering clarity and direction in the face of the unknown. These ancient cultures didn't just view light as a physical phenomenon. They saw it as a spiritual tool, a way to communicate with the divine and ensure the continuity of the soul. This belief in light's guiding power also extended to the rituals surrounding death. In many cultures, fire was used to symbolize purification and renewal. In Zoroastrianism, for example, fire was considered a sacred element, and its light was thought to cleanse the soul, preparing it for the afterlife. Similarly, in ancient Greece, torches were often carried during funeral processions, their flames representing the journey of the soul to the underworld. These rituals weren't just about mourning, they were about transformation, using light to mark the transition from one state of being to another. As we explore these ancient burial practices, we're reminded of the universal human desire to make sense of the mysteries of life and death. Light in all its forms became a way to navigate these mysteries, offering comfort, guidance, and a sense of connection to something greater. Whether it was the celestial light of the pyramids or the warm glow of a lantern, these practices reveal a profound understanding of light's symbolic power, a power that continues to resonate across cultures and centuries. By examining how ancient civilizations used light in their burial rituals, we gain insight into their beliefs about the afterlife and the human spirit. These practices weren't just about the dead, they were about the living, offering a way to honor, remember, and connect with those who had passed. And in that, they remind us that light isn't just something we see. It's something we feel, a force that can illuminate even the darkest corners of our existence. Light wasn't just a tool for architecture or spirituality in the ancient world. It was also a medium for communication, a way to bridge vast distances and convey messages across landscapes. Imagine standing on a hilltop, watching a flickering signal fire miles away, or catching the glint of sunlight off a distant mirror. For ancient cultures, these weren't just flashes of light, they were words, warnings, and calls to action. The ability to harness light for communication reveals yet another layer of ingenuity in societies that often had to rely on creativity rather than technology. One of the most iconic examples of light-based communication is the use of signal fires. These blazing beacons, often placed on high ground or towers, could relay messages across incredible distances in a matter of minutes. The ancient Greeks, for instance, used a network of signal fires to warn of invasions, their flames carrying urgent news from one city-state to another. The system was so effective that it inspired the famous story of the fire signal that traveled from Troy to Mycenae, delivering news of the city's fall. But how did they ensure the message was clear? It wasn't just about lighting a fire, it was about patterns. The number of fires, their arrangement, or even the timing of their lighting could convey specific information, turning a simple flame into a sophisticated code. Reflective surfaces also played a crucial role in ancient communication. The Greeks and Romans used polished metal shields or mirrors to flash sunlight across long distances. This method, known as heliography, allowed for precise, rapid communication in daylight. A single flash might signal an approaching enemy, while a series of flashes could relay more complex messages. The effectiveness of this technique depended on the skill of the operator, who had to angle the mirror just right to catch the sun's rays. It's a reminder that even the simplest tools, when used creatively, could achieve remarkable results. In the Americas, indigenous cultures developed their own light-based communication systems. The Inca, for example, used a network of signal fires known as chasquis to relay messages across their vast empire. These fires were strategically placed along mountain ridges, creating a chain of light that could carry news from one end of the empire to the other in record time. The system was so efficient that it allowed the Inca to govern their sprawling territory with remarkable coordination. But light-based communication wasn't just about practicality, it was also about symbolism. In many cultures, light signals carried deeper meanings, often tied to spiritual or cultural beliefs. For the ancient Egyptians, the lighting of ceremonial fires during festivals wasn't just a way to communicate. It was a way to honor the gods and connect with the divine. Similarly, in ancient China, signal fires were sometimes used in rituals, their flames symbolizing the presence of ancestors or the protection of celestial beings. What's fascinating about these ancient methods is how they reflect a deep understanding of light's properties. Whether it was the speed of a fire's light, the precision of a mirror's reflection, or the symbolism of a ceremonial flame, ancient cultures found ways to turn light into a language. These systems weren't just about transmitting information, they were about creating connections, whether between people, communities, or even the divine. Today, as we send messages instantly through smartphones and satellites, it's easy to forget the ingenuity of those who first used light to communicate. Yet, these ancient methods remind us that innovation isn't always about complexity. Sometimes, it's about seeing the potential in something as simple as a flame or a reflection. The next time you catch a glint of sunlight or watch a fire flicker in the distance, take a moment to appreciate the ancient art of light-based communication, a testament to humanity's endless creativity and resourcefulness. Light wasn't just a tool for timekeeping or communication in the ancient world. It was also a powerful force in healing. Across cultures, from the sunlit courtyards of Roman baths to the serene spaces of Ayurvedic medicine, light played a central role in ancient wellness practices. These traditions weren't just about treating the body. They were about nurturing the mind and spirit, using light to create environments that promoted balance, vitality, and renewal. In ancient Rome, public baths were more than just places to cleanse the body. They were sanctuaries of healing and relaxation. The design of these baths often included large, open courtyards filled with natural light, creating spaces that felt both invigorating and calming. Sunlight streaming through these courtyards would have warmed the stone floors, creating a soothing environment for bathers to unwind. The Romans believed that sunlight had therapeutic properties, and they incorporated it into their bathing rituals to promote physical and mental well-being. The interplay of light and shadow in these spaces wasn't just aesthetic. It was intentional, designed to enhance the healing experience and foster a sense of connection to the natural world. Similarly, in ancient India, light was a key element of Ayurvedic medicine, one of the world's oldest holistic healing systems. Ayurveda views light as a vital source of energy or prana that nourishes the body and mind. Healing spaces such as treatment rooms and meditation halls were often designed to maximize natural light, with large windows and open layouts that allowed sunlight to flood the interior. The warmth and brightness of these spaces were believed to balance the body's energies, promoting harmony and vitality. Even the timing of treatments was influenced by the cycles of light and darkness, with certain therapies recommended during specific times of the day to align with the body's natural rhythms. The connection between light and healing extended to the design of ancient hospitals and sanctuaries as well. In Greece, the Asclepiad temples dedicated to Asclepius, the god of healing, were often built in locations with abundant sunlight and fresh air. These spaces were designed to create a sense of peace and tranquility, with courtyards and open-air halls that allowed patients to bask in the sun's healing rays. The Greeks believed that light had the power to cleanse and purify, both physically and spiritually, and they incorporated it into their healing rituals to promote recovery and renewal. What's fascinating is how these ancient practices reveal a universal understanding of light's therapeutic potential. Whether it was the sunlit Roman baths, the serene Ayurvedic healing spaces, or the open-air Asclepiad, ancient builders recognized that light could do more than illuminate, it could heal. These practices weren't just about architecture, they were about creating environments that supported the body, mind, and spirit, using light as a tool for transformation. As we explore these ancient healing traditions, we're reminded of the timeless connection between light and well-being. The way these cultures harnessed sunlight to promote health and harmony is a testament to their ingenuity and insight. And while modern medicine has advanced in countless ways, the principles behind these ancient practices still resonate today, reminding us that sometimes the simplest elements like light can have the most profound impact. By examining how ancient civilizations integrated light into their healing spaces, we gain a deeper appreciation for the role of architecture in wellness. These designs weren't just functional, they were deeply intentional, crafted to enhance the healing process and connect us to the natural world. And in that, they offer a timeless lesson that the spaces we inhabit can shape not just how we feel, but how we heal. The timeless interplay of light and shadow, perfected by ancient builders, continues to shape the way we design spaces today. Modern architects, drawing inspiration from these age-old techniques, have reimagined how light can transform a structure, creating environments that feel both innovative and deeply rooted in tradition. From the organic designs of Frank Lloyd Wright to the bold, light-filled spaces of contemporary museums, the legacy of ancient light manipulation lives on, proving that some ideas are truly eternal. Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the most influential architects of the 20th century, was a master of harnessing natural light. His designs often featured large windows, skylights, and open floor plans that allowed sunlight to flood interiors, creating a seamless connection between indoor and outdoor spaces. Take Fallingwater, for example. This iconic home, perched over a waterfall, uses cantilevered balconies and expansive glass walls to bring the surrounding forest and light into the living spaces. Wright's approach wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about creating harmony between the structure and its environment. In many ways, his work echoes the ancient practice of aligning buildings with natural elements, showing how light can transform a space into something both functional and deeply emotional. Contemporary architects have taken this idea even further, using cutting-edge materials and technology to push the boundaries of light-focused design. Museums, in particular, have become showcases for modern interpretations of ancient techniques. The Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, designed by Frank Gehry, is a perfect example. Its undulating titanium surfaces reflect and scatter light in dynamic ways, creating an ever-changing interplay of brightness and shadow that shifts with the time of day and weather. This isn't just about creating a visually stunning building. It's about evoking emotion, much like the ancient temples that used light to inspire awe and reverence. Another striking example is the Louvre Abu Dhabi, designed by Jean Nouvel. Its massive dome, composed of nearly 8,000 star-shaped layers, filters sunlight to create a rain of light effect. This design not only provides shade but also mimics the dappled light of a palm grove, connecting the building to its desert environment. The way light filters through the dome is reminiscent of the ancient Egyptian practice of using narrow shafts to channel celestial light into tombs, creating a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves. What's fascinating is how these modern designs honor ancient traditions while embracing innovation. Like the ancient builders who aligned pyramids with stars or temples with solstices, today's architects use light to tell stories, evoke emotions, and create spaces that resonate on a deeply human level. The tools and materials may have changed, but the underlying philosophy remains the same. Light is more than just illumination. It's a way to shape how we experience the world. This connection between past and present isn't just about aesthetics. It's about a shared understanding of light's power to transform. Whether it's the warm glow of a Frank Lloyd Wright home or the dramatic interplay of light and shadow in a modern museum, these designs remind us that architecture is more than just buildings. It's about creating spaces that inspire, uplift, and connect us to something greater. As we marvel at these modern interpretations, we're reminded that the ancient builders' legacy is alive and well. Their mastery of light and shadow continues to inspire architects around the world, proving that even in our high-tech age, the simplest elements like sunlight can still hold the key to creating spaces that move us. And in that, they've given us a gift that will continue to shine for generations to come. Preserving ancient structures that were designed to interact with light and shadow presents a unique set of challenges. These buildings, crafted with such precision and purpose, were never meant to withstand the wear and tear of centuries, let alone the environmental pressures of the modern world. Yet, as we strive to protect these architectural marvels, we're faced with a delicate balancing act. How do we maintain their authenticity while making them accessible to future generations? One of the biggest hurdles in preserving light-based designs is their inherent fragility. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza's narrow shafts, for example. These meticulously aligned passages, meant to channel starlight into the king's chamber, are incredibly vulnerable to erosion and shifting sands. Even the slightest change in the pyramid's structure could disrupt the celestial alignment, robbing future generations of the awe-inspiring light phenomena ancient builders worked so hard to create. Similarly, in places like the Temple of Karnak, the reflective surfaces of obelisks and statues have weathered over time, dulling the once dazzling interplay of light that brought the temple to life. Modern conservation efforts often find themselves walking a tightrope. On one hand, there's the need to restore and stabilize these structures, ensuring they don't crumble under the weight of time. On the other, there's the risk of over-restoration, where well-meaning efforts can strip away the very essence of what makes these designs so special. For instance, replacing ancient polished limestone with modern materials might make a temple more durable, but it could also alter the way light interacts with the surface, diminishing the spiritual impact the original builders intended. To address these challenges, conservationists are turning to innovative techniques. 3D scanning and digital modeling allow experts to study ancient structures in unprecedented detail, identifying areas of stress or decay without invasive measures. In some cases, virtual reconstructions are used to recreate the light and shadow effects of a space, giving visitors a glimpse of its original splendor without physically altering the structure. At the Pantheon in Rome, for example, careful monitoring of the oculus ensures that the flow of light remains uninterrupted, while subtle interventions protect the dome from environmental damage. But preservation isn't just about technology, it's also about understanding the cultural and spiritual significance of these designs. For the Maya, the alignment of El Castillo with the equinoxes wasn't just an architectural feat, it was a sacred act. Similarly, the light shafts of the Great Pyramid weren't just engineering marvels, they were pathways to the afterlife. Modern conservation efforts must respect these deeper meanings, ensuring that the stories these structures tell aren't lost in the process of preservation. What can we learn from these challenges? Perhaps the most important lesson is the fragility of human ingenuity. These ancient designs, so finely tuned to the rhythms of the natural world, remind us of the delicate balance between creation and decay. They also highlight the importance of preserving not just the physical structures, but the knowledge and traditions that brought them to life. By studying how ancient builders harnessed light and shadow, we gain insight into their worldview, a worldview that continues to inspire and challenge us today. As we work to protect these ancient wonders, we're reminded that preservation is more than just a technical endeavor. It's an act of respect, a way to honor the creativity and spirituality of those who came before us. And in doing so, we ensure that the magic of light and shadow, so carefully woven into these structures, remains a source of wonder for generations to come. As we stand on the shoulders of ancient builders, it's impossible not to wonder, what's next? The mastery of light and shadow that defined their work isn't just a relic of the past, it's a foundation for the future. With advancements in technology and a growing focus on sustainability, the principles that guided these ancient architects are more relevant than ever. Imagine a world where buildings don't just passively interact with light but actively harness it, where walls and windows adapt to the sun's movements, and where energy is drawn from the very rays that once inspired awe in ancient temples. The future of architecture is poised to take the lessons of the past and transform them into innovations that could redefine how we live, work, and connect with our environment. One of the most exciting possibilities lies in the development of smart materials. Picture a building facade that changes its texture or opacity based on the time of day, optimizing natural light while minimizing heat gain. Materials like electrochromic glass, which can tint or clear at the flick of a switch, are already making this a reality. These innovations echo the ancient practice of designing structures to respond to sunlight, but with a modern twist. Instead of relying solely on the sun's natural path, future buildings could dynamically adjust to it, creating spaces that are both energy efficient and deeply attuned to human comfort. Solar technology is another area where ancient inspiration meets modern ingenuity. The Egyptians aligned their pyramids with the sun, but today we can go a step further. Imagine solar panels that not only generate power but also mimic the reflective surfaces of ancient temples, scattering light in ways that enhance a building's aesthetic. Transparent solar cells, for instance, could turn windows into energy sources without sacrificing natural light. This approach wouldn't just reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, it would also honor the ancient understanding of light as a life-giving force, transforming it into a sustainable resource for generations to come. Sustainability is at the heart of this vision. Ancient builders worked with the environment, not against it, using local materials and natural elements to create structures that stood the test of time. Today, architects are embracing this ethos, designing buildings that harmonize with their surroundings. Green roofs, living walls, and passive cooling systems are just the beginning. What if we could design entire cities that function like ecosystems, where every building contributes to a larger balance of light, energy, and life? The legacy of ancient builders reminds us that the best designs are those that respect the natural world, and the future of architecture must build on this wisdom. But it's not just about technology, it's about the human experience. Ancient builders understood that light and shadow could evoke emotion, tell stories, and create connections. As we look to the future, we have the opportunity to design spaces that do the same, but on an even grander scale. Imagine walking into a building where the walls seem to breathe with light, where every shadow tells a story, and where the interplay of brightness and darkness feels almost alive. These spaces wouldn't just be functional, they'd be transformative, reminding us of the power of design to shape how we feel and interact with the world around us. The future of light and shadow in architecture isn't just about innovation, it's about continuity. It's about taking the ancient principles that guided the builders of the past and reimagining them for a new era. By doing so, we can create a future that's not only brighter but also more connected, more sustainable, and more inspiring. The legacy of ancient builders is a reminder that architecture is more than just buildings, it's a way to express our deepest values and aspirations. And as we move forward, we have the chance to honor that legacy in ways that light up the world, both literally and figuratively. So, as we look ahead, let's imagine a future where the lessons of the past illuminate the path forward. A future where light and shadow aren't just elements of design but tools for creating a better world. And in that future, the brilliance of ancient builders will continue to shine, guiding us toward a horizon filled with possibility. As we marvel at the ingenuity of ancient builders and their mastery of light and shadow, it's essential to pause and consider the ethical implications of studying and replicating these timeless techniques. While their designs inspire awe and innovation, they also carry deep cultural and spiritual significance that demands respect and sensitivity. How do we honor these traditions without exploiting them? How can modern architects draw inspiration from the past while ensuring their work doesn't overshadow the origins of these sacred designs? One of the most pressing concerns is the risk of cultural appropriation, borrowing or replicating elements of a culture without understanding or respecting their context. For instance, the intricate light-based designs of the Maya or the celestial alignments of ancient Egypt aren't just architectural feats. They're expressions of deeply held beliefs and values. When modern architects incorporate these elements into contemporary buildings, they must ask themselves, are we honoring the culture or are we reducing it to a trend? Without a genuine understanding of the traditions behind these designs, there's a danger of stripping them of their meaning, turning sacred symbols into mere decoration. Another ethical challenge lies in the commercialization of ancient techniques. From luxury resorts mimicking the light-filled courtyards of Persian gardens to high-end homes inspired by the Oculus of the Pantheon, there's a growing trend of commodifying ancient design. While these projects may be visually stunning, they often lack the cultural and spiritual depth that made the original so profound. This raises important questions about who benefits from these designs and whether the communities that originated them are acknowledged or compensated. After all, these techniques aren't just blueprints, they are part of a living heritage that belongs to specific cultures and peoples. So, how can modern architects and researchers navigate these ethical waters? One approach is collaboration. By working directly with communities that hold the knowledge of these ancient techniques, architects can create designs that are both innovative and respectful. This isn't just about asking for permission. It's about building partnerships that honor the cultural context and ensure that the original creators are recognized and valued. For example, a project inspired by the light-based rituals of the Maya might involve consultation with indigenous leaders, ensuring that the design reflects their traditions in a meaningful way. Another key consideration is education. By learning about the cultural and spiritual significance of ancient designs, architects and researchers can approach their work with greater sensitivity. This means going beyond surface-level aesthetics and delving into the stories, beliefs, and values that shape these techniques. When we understand why the Egyptians aligned their pyramids with the stars or why the Maya used light to symbolize divine presence, we can create designs that resonate on a deeper level, paying homage to the past while contributing something new. Ultimately, the ethical study and replication of ancient light and shadow techniques is about balance. It's about finding ways to be inspired by the past without erasing or exploiting it. It's about recognizing that these designs aren't just beautiful, they're sacred, carrying the hopes, dreams, and beliefs of the people who created them. As we continue to explore and innovate, let's do so with respect, humility, and a commitment to honoring the cultures that came before us. The legacy of ancient builders isn't just a source of inspiration, it's a responsibility. By approaching their work with care and consideration, we can ensure that their brilliance continues to shine, not just in our buildings, but in the way we connect with and respect the diverse cultures that make our world so rich. And in doing so, we can create a future that's not only innovative but also deeply rooted in the values of empathy, collaboration, and respect. Even after centuries of study, the ancient mastery of light and shadow still holds secrets that elude our understanding. While we've uncovered many of the techniques and principles behind these designs, some mysteries remain tantalizingly out of reach. How did builders without the tools or technology we have today achieve such precision in their alignments? What rituals or beliefs inspired their intricate use of light? And what hidden meanings might still be waiting to be discovered in the shadows of these ancient structures? These questions continue to captivate scholars, sparking ongoing research and debate. One of the most enduring mysteries lies in the exact methods ancient builders used to align their structures with celestial events. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, for example. While we know its sides are aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, the precise techniques used to achieve this remain unclear. Did the Egyptians use a simple tool like a gnomon, or did they rely on more sophisticated methods? Similarly, the shafts inside the pyramid, believed to align with stars like Sirius and Orion, raise questions about how such precise astronomical knowledge was obtained. Were these alignments purely symbolic, or did they serve a practical purpose we've yet to uncover? The Temple of Karnak in Egypt presents another puzzle. Its alignment with the solstices is well documented, but the exact process of designing and constructing such a massive, light-sensitive structure is still debated. How did the builders account for the sun's shifting path across the sky? And how did they ensure that the light rituals performed within the temple remained accurate over centuries? These questions hint at a level of astronomical and engineering knowledge that challenges our assumptions about ancient capabilities. In the Americas, the Mayan Pyramid of El Castillo continues to intrigue researchers. While its alignment with the equinoxes is clear, the exact cultural and spiritual significance of the serpent-like shadow phenomenon remains open to interpretation. Was it purely a religious symbol, or did it also serve as a tool for agricultural or societal planning? The Mayas' ability to predict celestial events with such accuracy suggests a deep connection between their architecture and their understanding of the cosmos, but many of the details of this relationship are still shrouded in mystery. Even in Europe, where the Pantheon's Oculus has been studied extensively, questions linger. How did Roman architects calculate the dome's proportions so precisely that it remains structurally sound after 2,000 years? And what inspired them to design the Oculus as both a practical light source and a symbolic connection to the heavens? These unanswered questions remind us that ancient builders weren't just skilled engineers, they were visionaries, blending science, art, and spirituality in ways we're still striving to fully comprehend. Ongoing research continues to shed light quite literally on these ancient techniques. Advances in technology, such as 3D scanning and computer modeling, are allowing scholars to explore these structures in unprecedented detail. For example, recent studies of Newgrange's roof box have revealed new insights into how the Neolithic builders captured the winter solstice sunrise. Similarly, laser scanning of Mayan temples is helping researchers uncover hidden chambers and passageways that may hold clues to their light-based rituals. But for every mystery solved, new questions arise. What inspired the builders to invest so much time and effort into creating structures that interacted so intricately with light? Were these designs purely functional, or did they serve a deeper, perhaps even spiritual purpose? And what might we still learn from these ancient techniques as we face our own challenges in architecture and design today? The enduring mystery of ancient light and shadow isn't just about solving puzzles, it's about understanding the human spirit. These structures remind us of our timeless desire to connect with the cosmos, to find meaning in the natural world, and to create beauty that transcends time. As we continue to explore these ancient marvels, we're reminded that the shadows they cast are not just physical, they're gateways to a past that still has much to teach us. So, as we stand in the presence of these ancient wonders, let's embrace the questions they inspire. For in those questions lies the spark of curiosity that drives us to explore, to learn, and to marvel at the ingenuity of those who came before us. The shadows of the past may be deep, but they also hold the promise of new discoveries, and in that, they remind us that the pursuit of knowledge is a journey without end. As our exploration of ancient light and shadow comes to a close, we're left with a profound appreciation for the genius of those who came before us. From the celestial alignments of the Great Pyramid to the sacred solstice rituals of Newgrange, these builders transformed stone and sunlight into something far greater than mere architecture. Their work wasn't just about creating structures, it was about telling stories, marking time, and connecting humanity to the cosmos. Each beam of light, each carefully cast shadow, was a testament to their creativity, precision, and reverence for the natural world. What makes these ancient designs so enduring? Perhaps it's their ability to transcend time and culture, speaking to something universal within us. Even today, thousands of years later, we can stand in the shadow of these structures and feel a sense of awe, a connection to the people who crafted them. They remind us that architecture is more than just function. It's a way to express our deepest beliefs, our relationship with the divine, and our place in the universe. But these ancient builders didn't just leave behind physical monuments, they left behind a legacy of inspiration. Their mastery of light and shadow challenges us to think differently about the spaces we create. How can we use natural elements to enhance our designs? How can we build structures that not only serve a purpose but also evoke emotion and meaning? These questions are as relevant today as they were in ancient times, urging us to look at the world with fresh eyes and a renewed sense of possibility. As we reflect on this journey, we're reminded that the past is never truly behind us. The techniques and principles developed by ancient builders continue to shape our world, from the way we design buildings to the way we think about light and space. Their work is a reminder that innovation doesn't always require modern technology. Sometimes it's about seeing the potential in what's already around us and using it in new and creative ways. What will you take away from this exploration? Will it be the awe-inspiring precision of the pyramids, the spiritual depth of the solstice alignments, or the sheer beauty of light dancing across ancient stones? Whatever resonates with you, one thing is clear. The architectural magic of ancient builders is a gift that keeps on giving, offering endless inspiration and insight for those willing to look. Before we part ways, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Did you discover something new about these ancient wonders? Is there a particular structure or technique that captured your imagination? Share your reflections in the comments below. Your insights might just spark the next great conversation. And if you've enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of history, don't forget to subscribe and join us as we uncover more stories from the past. Until next time, keep exploring the light and shadow of our world. There's always